नमस्ते भैया।
नमस्ते, स्वागत है।
जी
अभी we are joined, but just got disconnected actually, so maybe that was the
ओके
yeah, he's back now. Yes.
नाइस। नमस्ते अर्जुन। अर्जुन इज आल्सो कनेक्टेड। नमस्ते मंजू दीदी, मनु दीदी एंड बासु दीदी।
नमस्ते दीदी, नमस्ते सबको।
जी, so namaste to all the participants. This is our follow-up session of the AICTE on universal human values content. And as we can see the view foil, that earlier also we were discussing human-human relations, and in human-human relations it was respect we were talking of, and we'll continue our discussion on the same. Although I can see 3 mics unmuted, Dr. Ravi Raja, Ranganathji, and Satyasai Vaniji. So before we take up the discussion further, I'll welcome Arjun. Arjun Asthana is going to be our resource person for the day and is going to take us forward with the content that we have been discussing on the last turn as well. So welcome Arjun. And
Namaste, welcome.
and since there are 3 mics unmuted, as I can see, maybe we can take up a little bit of discussion.
Sure.
Or should we go ahead with the content?
We can, if anyone wants to say
Right.
something, they can, and then after that we'll start.
Nice enough. Dr. Ravi Raja ji.
Yes, good evening, madam.
Good evening, namaste.
I am from Anna University, Chennai. I'm the coordinator for the students induction program for the first year students.
Ji.
So first of all, that is going to be conducted in online only. So what I learned in the University Human Values program, they got a certificate. The same syllabus I got to teach, or we can interact with the students with their backgrounds and all. So which is correct? Directly we can speak about UHV, or we can talk about their background. Madam, please let me know. Thank you.
Well, Arjun, would you like to take up the query, or shall I address the query?
I don't know about that thing, so
Fine.
they can find out actually from
Right.
the volunteers. Yeah.
Fine. Let me just give a little bit of input. So Dr. Ravi Raja sir, since the induction program in your institute, in your college is going to be in an online mode, please do refer to the induction program, the sampler that is available on the YouTube. You'll get to know much about the content of the induction program and how AICTE proposes it to be taken up. So this will give you a good idea of how we can take up the induction program in our institute as well. So that is just a sampler. So you can take a reference to that. That may help you resolve the query that you have. Apart from that, the students are there in between. They'll keep doing the talking and the queries may be taken up in between, and let the flow of the induction program be referred to the AICTE introduced induction program and the vision for that. Will that be fine, Ravi sir?
Okay, okay. Thank you. Very fine. Thank you, madam.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Satya Sai Vani, madam.
Yes, namaste, ma'am.
Namaste. Namaste.
Namaste to everyone.
Ji.
Ma'am, I just have a query.
Namaste.
Actually, yeah, namaste. On the guidelines of AICTE, we have this mentee-mentor system where for 20 students, a staff member assigned by the university, we as mentor to ment these students. My query is, they are UG students and they do not have this UHV program as a course, only for PGs that we have. But my query is, can I address to my students, these 20 students, on these guidelines without the permission of our teachers, our institute dean and principals?
Well, ma'am, where induction activities are concerned, these are some of the proposed modules as per the AICTE guidelines, which are to be taken into consideration and referred to. Whereas where UHV sessions are concerned, you may talk to your principal in person to discuss out these,
Yes.
because these are something which are related to our living, which are related
Correct.
to the right understanding of all the human beings. So for that matter, this is something you'll be doing good to the students.
Correct.
Isn't
Because
it?
as a senior most, actually, I keep interacting with my students, but when it has to be, when students are being assigned in this way, I felt that when I'm addressing PG students, and these students are not first year students because they have come to second year and they do not have, as per the curriculum for this batch, the induction program is being conducted only for this year admitted, and next semester it is only for PG students that we are starting with. Then I felt, yes, there's nothing harm. Yeah, then I will talk to my deans and principals, and I think in these lines I can now speak.
Right. We are giving something that is going to be of that is of value to all the human beings, whether they are first year students or second year students or the PG or the UG students. So it'll be nice if all the students can be exposed to, can be taken forward with the content.
Yes.
And the students who are under your mentorship,
Yes.
you can always ask them to join these sessions. It will be
Acha.
good
Acha.
for
Can I share the link with them?
well, ma'am, a separate link can be sent. Is Sharad Bhaiya here with us? Maybe we can pass it to, forward the
I mean that
request.
WhatsApp group where Sharad Bhaiya
Yes.
is the
Oh,
group
that's wonderful,
Yes,
Didi. You can just have a word with Sharad Bhaiya, and it will
Yes.
be good if the students can join this particular session with Arjuna Sthanaji. It will be a very interactive and fulfilling session for all.
Definitely, ma'am. So I will talk to Sharad Bhaiya.
Manisha, can I interrupt?
Please, Priyaji. Yes, please go
Actually,
ahead.
we can send what Sharad Bhaiya is sending, no, that we can send to the students. My students are joining like that only. Then they register every week, and then the mail comes to their email ID, and that's how they join the Zoom link.
Okay, ma'am. Then I will
That's
also do that.
really good.
I will put in a word to Sharad Bhaiya.
Yes.
What Sharad Bhaiya is sending to us in the group, no, Sundays group, that we can send to the students group.
Yes, ma'am.
So then they can, who is interested, they can join. They can register and join.
Yes, madam. Surely.
Then a separate link, Didi, will be sent to all the students who register themselves.
It will come to the mail when they register. No, it will come to the mail. The join link. That's it.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Nice, very nice. That's so nice to see that Satya Sai Vani is also taking a lot of interest in connecting the students and making the students aware of the content in view of the development of right understanding in the students. Thank you so
Definitely, ma'am.
much.
Yeah, namaste.
Thank you. Namaste. Thank you. I think, Arjun, I'll hand over the session to you so that we can take the content forward.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. In today's session, we'll talk about respect and also go a little further into what we discussed last time. So we discussed respect as right evaluation. And we also looked at some common forms of disrespect which we tend to think are actually respect. So these three kind of evaluations which we discussed last time, these are all forms of disrespect because it actually causes more problem than anything else. Even though we might have the right intention, if we do these things, then it leads to a kind of disrespect. So whenever the evaluation is not right, it is disrespect. So this question was, not question, this kind of exploration was talked about last time also, that you can check for yourself in every interaction with others, whether that interaction, whether your role in that interaction, when you were having that interaction, were you having the right evaluation, were you doing the right evaluation of the other and right evaluation of yourself as well, or was it over evaluation, under evaluation, or otherwise evaluation of either you or the other? So that way, if you have the right evaluation of both people in the interaction, or even if it is multiple people, or even if it is your interaction within yourself, then do you have the right evaluation, or are you confused about this way of evaluation? So that's what we had last time. And if there's any question or doubt about it, we can still take it. But this is basically what we saw. And we also saw that when you have the right evaluation, then it leads to a feeling of self-confidence. It leads to a state of self-confidence because you're your own reference point. You're not referring to others to decide your state of mind. So when it is over evaluation, then it is called ego. And when it is under evaluation, it's not called ego. I mean, it leads to a state of ego because when you're in that over evaluation kind of state, that ends up getting into ego. And when you're in the under evaluation kind of a thing, then it ends up going into depression. And usually what happens is that if your reference point is someone else or something else outside, then you may keep fluctuating between this ego and depression because it always depends on the other. So depending on what inputs are coming from the other, you would keep swinging between ego and depression. But on the other hand, if you are your own reference point and you're able to rightly evaluate yourself and the other, then you can be in a state of self-confidence. And when you're in this state of self-confidence, you'll have definite conduct, which means that your whatever you do outside and whatever you're feeling inside, both will be stable. Your feelings will not fluctuate. You'll not have this mood swing kind of a thing. You'll be very stable in your feelings, always feel comfortable inside. And outside also, because of that feeling comfortable inside, your conduct outside also will be definite. As in, if somebody gets angry with you or whatever happens, you will be the same. Nothing will change. If somebody really appreciates you a lot also, then you don't go like on a high with that. You just take everything, whatever is coming, you just take it because you will have definite conduct if you're your own reference point. You're not relying on the other person's reference point to decide your conduct. So that way you can have definite conduct. So this is what we wanted to discuss last time, right? About this thing of assumptions, that assumptions can lead to disharmony within, and that can lead to tension, frustration, and all this. The extreme case would be suicide. Everyone doesn't go till there, but basically we're saying that if there's under evaluation, then you start thinking that you are less than what you are, and that creates a lot of disharmony within, creates a lot of tension, and then you feel like you're not good enough, or you're not able to do what you want to do, or nobody respects you, or nobody cares about you. You start getting these kind of feelings, and that leads to more frustration, and you become kind of against everyone else also, because you feel depressed, you feel that there's no one who is there for you, and then in extreme cases that leads to suicide. But what we're saying is that if there is your own reference, if you are your own reference, then your assumptions will also be set right, such that you don't have those assumptions which are leading to that disharmony within. And then you will not have this tension and frustration, because your assumptions are aligned with your natural acceptance and with the right feelings you're operating. So you're not really depending on the other for your feeling. Your feeling is fixed, which is inside yourself, and whatever inputs are coming from others in terms of feelings, or in terms of anything else which is coming, any other inputs which are coming from the other, whatever the other person is saying or whatever the other person is doing, will stop affecting you. So that's where we want to reach, that it doesn't affect us at all. It should be like, if it doesn't affect us at all, that would be a lot more uh, you'll be a lot more comfortable that way, right? And you can also see that when you say yes to something which you actually want to say no for, then it leads to that kind of thing called stress. You feel stressed when you actually wanted to say no to something, but then you're saying yes. So it's the same kind of thing where you're doing something which you don't want to do, and then you end up having all this tension and frustration because there's disharmony within. So whenever you have this disharmony within, then it leads to all these negative things. But when you have harmony within, then it leads to definite conduct, and therefore you'll be stable inside, where whatever is happening outside doesn't affect you. So if you don't have your own reference point and the other is always your reference point, then you keep fluctuating between ego and depression. So, like for example, if somebody compliments you, then you go into that feeling very, very high about yourself. And then when somebody says something wrong, or in the society, if something is going on and you like something and you feel like you are superior to the others, then you may go into this ego. And then maybe you go somewhere else, or maybe in that same society, you start feeling that you are less than the others, not as good as the others. Then that leads to this depression. So whenever the other is your reference, it will obviously be very volatile, because the outside will keep changing. The people who you meet will keep changing. Even the same people, if you meet, their feelings may also keep changing. Their way of behavior may keep changing, right? Because others also may be in the same phase as we are. So if we can go to this place where we are able to be in self-confidence, then it will lead to definite conduct. And then whatever we do outside also will be more comfortable for us, because we are already comfortable within. So when we're talking about right evaluation, is it on the basis of self or the body? You can answer in the chat. When we're talking about this right evaluation, are we talking about right evaluation on the basis of the self or the body? And what exactly we mean also, we can, if there's any question about it, we can take it. Because last time we already discussed about right evaluation, so we won't go through the whole thing again. But if there's any question or if it's not clear about what exactly we mean by right evaluation, then we can still discuss. So people are saying that it is to do with the self, and that is true also, that when we are talking about right evaluation, we're not talking about the body, because on the basis of the body, there will be loads of differences, different kinds of body shape, different kinds of gender, different kinds of race, different kinds of, so many things are there, right, which may be different. But on the basis of the self, if we see the similarities, then we can see that the self has the potential to know. That's one thing. And second is that we all have this faculty of natural acceptance, which we can refer to at any time. And when we look at these two things, then we also see that even if other people are thinking something different, they have different opinions, and all those things may be different, even then, like whatever is happening in their mind may be different, their desires may be different, their thoughts may be different, opinions may be different. But when we look at the natural acceptance, we start seeing that everybody has that within them, and that natural acceptance is universal. So for example, if we ask this kind of a question, that do you want to be in relationship or opposition, or do you want to be healthy or unhealthy, when we ask these kind of questions, where are we getting that answer from, and are we able to see that that answer which is coming from all of us is the same? If you're able to see that, then we can see the similarity between each other. We start seeing that there's a part of us which is similar to each other, and that is this similarity in the natural acceptance, and also the similarity in the potential to know, the potential to understand, the potential to have that completeness of right understanding. And that is not on the basis of our intellectual capacity or on the basis of what we have read or anything like that. So that is the beautiful thing about the self, that we all have the same potential and we are similar to each other in terms of our natural acceptance. There may be differences in the thought process, in the opinions, in the all those things. But at the level of the self, where we are looking at natural acceptance, we can see that we are all the same. Or at least we can say that we are similar, right? And we can see that our purpose is also the same, right? In terms of the self, if you ask anyone over here whether they want to live with continuous happiness and prosperity, then what would the answer be? Like, you can answer in the chat and we can see if the answers are all the same or they're different. This may look like a simple thing, but then when we ask the right questions to our natural acceptance, the answer comes, and then you don't know where it came from, because it's not on the basis of some scripture or on the basis of some book which you may have read or on the basis of what's happening in the society, right? It's on it's something very innate, something which is coming from within, and it's very spontaneous also. You don't have to think about it so much, or you don't have to put a lot of logic into it, a lot of thought into it, right? Because it's not coming from a place where you think, like you think from a different place, and natural acceptance is coming from a totally different place. Like what's happening in the mind is that collection of all these desires, thoughts, expectations, all that imagination is going on, right? That imagination will be different from person to person, because desires are different, thoughts are different, expectations are different. But when we go out of this place and when we go into this other place called natural acceptance, then we see that the same answer comes from everybody, because it's something universal. So this is something which we can explore and see. In this group, at least, everybody is saying the same thing. We can try going with bigger groups and see, but then eventually you'll be able to, it's a proposal, you don't have to take it to be true or false, you can just keep it open. But basically, as a human being, there's some part of us which is the same. And if we look at that and we start seeing that very deeply, then we start seeing the similarity between each other. And therefore, we start to have a feeling of respect towards each other. We also see that our program is the same, as in, we've already seen that our purpose is the same. Our purpose is to live on this earth with continuous happiness and prosperity. And program, as in how to fulfill that, would be to understand and live in harmony at all the 4 levels. And people may do this in various ways. There may be various methods to do this. Like somebody might like to do meditation, somebody might like to do yoga, somebody might like to read books, somebody might like to go through different workshops like this or something. There could be various ways of doing it. But we're doing this to understand and live in harmony, right? Because if you're trying other methods and they're not working, then we come to I mean other programs. When we try, like when we try to get happiness on the basis of sensation or on the basis of our assumptions, and we see that it doesn't work, then we look for some other way to do it. So then we come into this process to try to understand and live in harmony. And then to do that, we may use various methods and then see which one works for us according to whatever we are comfortable with and whatever feels right for us. So that might be different. Like the choices that we make on that level may be different because our thoughts are different, our, all those things are different. Opinions about different methods may be different. So all that part is different. But our program is the same, right? Can we see that our program is the same? Can we see that we want to live in harmony at all 4 levels? You can answer yes or no in the chat for this also. That this is like, do you want to live in harmony or opposition? If we ask in this way, it becomes easier, right? Do we want to live in harmony or opposition? So many people are saying yes. And that is also kind of validating the fact that our natural acceptance is universal. It doesn't depend from person to person. It's not something which we've been taught or something which we've read from somewhere or we've taken from the society or from somewhere. It's something which is natural for us, right? So that is one thing that we can see. And about our potential also, that we all have this imagination going on, right? That is there in all of us. So that also we can try to recognize and see. Like if you see animals and all these animals, they don't fight with each other if they're of the same species. So in the same way, we can see that this human being is of the same species. They have the same kind of things going on, even though the exact content of this desire, thought, expectation may vary, but this imagination is going on in everyone, right? So we can see that we all have this, and we all have this natural acceptance, and we all have the potential to right understanding also, the potential to understand about the self in completeness. That potential is there. We all might not have reached that potential. I mean, we might not have reached the end point of that, but we can see that we are all on that journey where we are trying to understand things, right? Even in this, we are seeing that we are trying to understand things. We're not saying that we have understood. We're saying that we are on a journey of going from this workshop to the level where we are able to understand all these things. And understand doesn't mean something which has come in our memory. It means something which has gone much deeper than that, which has become a part of our living also, and a part of um, our whole system inside. So we can see that our purpose is the same, our program is the same, and our potential is the same. So are we able to see this? Now, this is important, that are we able to see that from person to person, this is not really differing, right? It's not different. On the level of the self, when we look, this is what we want, right? It's very clear. And in terms of what we want to do, in terms of how we want to spend our life and what our potential is, all this we can see the similarity, right? Even though we may do different things, and based on our assumptions, we may have different programs also, and see if they work or not, and then we explore more and more, and then at some point we may come to this thing that we want to understand and we want to live in harmony. Like, for example, if our program is to get deeper into sensation, then at some point we start realizing that it's not fulfilling me for a long time, it's fulfilling me only for a short time. So then, as human beings, we are curious to know how we could be happy for more time and how it could be continuous. So at some point we may shift to this program where we try to understand and live in harmony, because we may have tried other things and they may not have worked, right? So then we start looking at these kind of things, and then we can see that our potential is the same. So when we are able to see all this, then we are able to see that the other is similar to me, right? Are we able to see that the other is similar to me? You can answer in the chat if you think this can be expanded to more people, or you can say that the other is similar to me only if he has the same likes and dislikes or the same opinions. Would it be that, or would it be that the other is similar to me on this level? And everyone naturally will have different assumptions based on where they're brought up, what kind of education they had, what kind of people are there around them, and what kind of inputs they're getting from outside, right? On that basis, the thoughts are natural to vary, the desires may vary, expectations may vary. So just because a person is from the same background, most of the time a lot of friendships are made like this, right? Even in college and even in school, it used to be a lot of this used to happen, where people from the same state or people from the same city, they used to talk to each other more, they used to feel more comfortable with each other, because they used to feel that they're able to connect on that level of thoughts or opinions or something. But if we go deeper than that, then we can see that yes, of course, it may be easier to connect on that, like if the thoughts are similar and opinions are similar. But at the same time, if we're able to see this similarity, then whether we make friendship with the other or not, we will still be able to have this kind of feeling that the other is similar to me. And with that feeling, we don't have opposition to the other. We have a feeling of respect for the other, regardless of the other person's opinions or thoughts. So that is very powerful, because that makes us feel comfortable and it makes the other also comfortable. Right? This is very powerful. Now, we have seen the similarities at the level of the self. And we can't ignore the body, because the body is also part of the human being. But that doesn't have to make us respect or disrespect a person. So we can see that there are a lot of differences also, which are there, which exist, which we cannot ignore. Like on the basis of the body also, there are different shapes and sizes, there are different genders, there are different um, like expanded, if you see, there are different income levels, there are different races, there are different professions, there are um, different kinds of traditions based on different cultures. So all these are there, right? these are all happening outside, not in the self. So therefore, we many times tend to respect people only on the basis of their body. Like if the person is of a certain kind, then we are respecting them. Otherwise, we are not. So we are making a lot of further classification, which is actually not necessary. And we'll just explore that as well. That in living, this question we can answer first before we go ahead. That in our day-to-day life, are we trying to accept the other as being similar to me, or we're trying to show that we are different from the other, to feel superior or to feel above the other? Which one are we doing right now? Or are we doing a mix of both? Sometimes we do this, sometimes we do that. Okay, some people are saying that we are doing a mix, and some are saying that we are trying to show that we are different. And yeah, mostly it's that, right? Yeah, so this mix, why it's happening is because we have started feeling related to some people, but not feeling related to other people. Like, for example, we may have a feeling of relationship towards the family members or relatives or friends, but we may not have that same feeling for strangers because we're differentiating on the basis of our assumption about them. We're thinking that we know somebody and we don't know somebody. So, the people who we don't know, how can we feel related to them? That is an assumption. So, based on that assumption, we may not have anything negative against that person, but based on that assumption, we are not feeling related to that person. That's what's happening, right? Mostly. It could be that you don't like that person or something like that, or you have an assumption that a person of a different caste or different religion is not possible to be related to, or various assumptions like that may be there. So we don't know the exact assumption because that varies from person to person. I'm just giving some random example. But generally, what we're doing is that we are trying to create some kind of boundary where we relate to some people, we feel related to some people, and we don't feel related to some other people. And if you ask why this is happening, it's because we're not looking on the level of the self, we're looking on the basis of the body, and we're trying to show ourselves as superior to the others so that we go into that ego state. Because without realizing, we want to go there so that, I mean, we like we want to go there because we feel that that would give us happiness. But then once we reach there, then we realize that it goes into depression, and then again it fluctuates and it doesn't lead to stability. But we have the assumption that if we go there, then we'll feel happy. Like if we become famous, we may be happy. Or if we become rich, we may be happy. If we become rich, we may be able to have better relationships. So all these kind of things are all assumptions which we have assumed to be true without verifying. And therefore, we are trying to show that we are different from the other, either to ourselves or to others. But either way, the feeling is the same, that we want to be related to the other, but at the same time, we also want to feel respected. We want to feel all these things from outside. We want to get these feelings from outside. But that doesn't really work, because if you are dependent on getting all those feelings from outside, then that will keep varying. Sometimes you'll get those feelings from others, sometimes you won't get. So, this trying to show that we are different from the other is just a consequence of not having these feelings within ourselves, not having the feeling of trust and feeling of respect within ourselves. If we had it within ourselves, then why would we need to try to get it from the other? if you already have something in abundance, then you don't need to ask the other person for giving it, right? To give you that respect or to give you that feeling of trust. So right now, it's like we're almost in a situation where we don't have it within ourselves, but we want to get it from the other. And to get it from the other, the easiest way is to try to do such kind of things, right? Try to show that we are different and better than the other. Try to show that we are superior. And then it may lead to this feeling that you have like a kind of assumption that you feel that you are better than the other. You feel superior to the other, and then that makes you feel good for some time. That's what's happening. And then you try to interact with those kind of people to get that feeling again and again. Like if you see even issues like say ragging or issues like bullying, bullies are there, right? These kind of issues are also because the bully or the person who's doing the ragging is not happy within and is feeling uh, you know not having that feeling of respect within himself or herself, and therefore trying to get that feeling from the other. So even if the other is not giving you that feeling, you're trying to force that feeling, and you cannot force that feeling, but it's again an assumption for that person that it can be done that way. And same for say a case where there's a security guard at a five-star hotel, and when the car is going and when you're going inside the hotel, then he salutes you. So then you feel good about yourself that you are superior. But if you see from the security guard point of view, he may not actually respect you. He may be just doing that because that's his job. And if he doesn't do that, he may get fired. But then you assume that that is respect. That is actually just a kind of gesture, a kind of expression, which he is forced to do for his job. But then that doesn't always mean that he really respects you. He may have nothing to do with you, right? He may not have any interest or any actual respect for that person, but he may just do certain things because of the system. So in the same way, in the offices also, or in the college also, all these things keep happening from time to time, where we are trying to show that we are different and superior to the other, with the idea that we'll get that feeling from the other. So we're almost like begging for that feeling from the other without realizing, of course. And our intention is not to get that kind of thing going. Our intention is to have a feeling of relationship towards the other, but we're not able to see that because we're not referring to our natural acceptance and not looking at the similarity between our self and the other self. So once we start doing all this, then we won't feel the need also to show that we are different from the other. So you can think about this. And now this differentiation which we are doing to show that we are superior or to show that we are better than the other, we are doing in so many ways, right? We are doing it on the basis of body, like we just discussed, on the basis of age. On the basis of age also, a lot of it happens. It's very common, where we see that the person who is older may dominate over the person who is younger because he's older. Or the other way also, you can say that the younger person may feel that the older person is, superior because he's older. Or the younger person may feel something else also. He may feel that the older person is, um, he may have various assumptions. He or she may have various assumptions. But basically, we're saying that this difference which we are creating on so many aspects, this is something which may be there. It's not that it's not there. The difference in age may be there. Of course, somebody is young, somebody is old, somebody is of a female gender, somebody is of a male gender, somebody is of one race, somebody is of another race. Religions are different. Physical strength, somebody is very thin, somebody is very fat in physical shape, and in physical strength also somebody is very weak, somebody is very strong. So all this is there. It's not that it's not there. Differences are there, but when we make these differences um, a kind of basis for our respect or disrespect, then we can see that that is not really right, because it's like, creating a different it's like creating a discrimination on the basis of the differences. So instead of that, we can just look at them as different things. That's why the world is so beautiful also, right? There are so many different things, different kinds of people, different kinds of things are there, different so many differences are there. And if everybody was the same, then there would be not the world would not be so interesting, right? So if we just look at, say we look at two flowers, then can we look at them without thinking about which is better, or which looks more fresh, or which looks more um, beautiful? Can we just look at them and just say that, okay, this is one flower, this is one flower? Can we just look at them without having all this discrimination, observing the differences but not having a discrimination or not putting any tag to it? When we start doing that, then we'll see that this differentiation, like the differences which are there, don't have to be a source of discrimination. When we look at somebody who is wealthy and we look at somebody who is poor, somebody who is rich, somebody who is poor, then are we able to look at them without the feeling that the wealthy person is superior and the poor person is inferior? Are we able to look at them without these kind of judgments? Mostly what we've done is that we have created all these categories based on body, based on physical facility, based on religion, based on sects, beliefs, all these things. We've made so many classifications. We've gone to the extent that, somebody likes um, you know somebody likes this particular cricket team and somebody else likes that other cricket team. We've gone to that extent also, and you know differentiated on these things which are actually just they're not any real basis for any kind of discrimination. But then we have gone into so many of these things and classified so much and made so many groups on the basis of different opinions, on the basis of different thoughts, and on that basis we've created a lot of discrimination. So when we do that, then we see that there's no end to this kind of a thing, because everybody has different thoughts, different opinions, different expectations. So if we keep splitting it into different and different things, and then start discriminating on each one of them, then it leads to more problems. It leads more to more disrespect. So that is not really respect. That is totally opposite of respect. It's also leading to a lot of protests. It's leading to a lot of problems in the world, right? Discrimination on physical strength. A simple thing like in college, when you go, if there's somebody who is very thin and there are some people in the gym, suppose that guy goes to the gym, then everybody makes fun of that guy because he's thin and all those other people are very well built. It's called well built because they have that preconditioning or that assumption that well built is a certain kind of look, or muscular is a certain kind of look, and thin is a certain kind of thing. So a lot of assumptions are kind of joined to those things. Like thin is joined with weak, thin is joined with um, you join many things together in the assumptions. You join thin with sometimes underconfident also, right? It doesn't have to be the case. It may not be many times. So our assumptions have to really be looked at about all these things. And basically what we're saying is that difference between different types of genders, different types of races, all these things may be there in the world. Of course, it's there, but that doesn't have to be a source of discrimination, because our body type, our body shape, our body amount of wealth we have collected, amount of whichever post we are in the corporates, also in the teaching and all these fields, it has become like a big hierarchy where there's somebody on top of another and there's somebody on top of another in terms of position. And that has become a source of discrimination as well. Like the person who is mopping the floor in the office is not given the same amount of respect as the person who is, this is not real respect, this is the show kind of respect, but even that we can see that the difference is there, right, between the person who is doing something like that versus the person who is the boss. So only on the basis of post this discrimination is there, but on the basis of the human being, if we look at the self, we can see that even that person who is mopping the floor also has the same purpose, program, and potential. At the level of the self, he has the same thing as the boss. So on that level, we are all equal. If we start looking at that, then we start feeling related to everyone. So of course, there are a lot of other problems with these things, with the differentiation, like as it's mentioned below. So many movements and protests and all that have happened because of this kind of differentiation. But that doesn't have to be done. We can just acknowledge the differences and not let it lead to discrimination. So any kind of differentiation, any kind of discrimination which we are doing to show that we are better than the other, or to show that we are different from the other, all these are a form of disrespect. And disrespect is not naturally acceptable. These things can be verified also. Like if you verify whether what is naturally acceptable to you, what would you like, respect or disrespect? How would you like to be treated, with respect or disrespect? You can answer in the chat. So where are all these answers coming from? See, people are saying now respect. Now where is this answer coming from? That also you can answer now in the chat. Yeah, so the answers coming are self and natural acceptance. So it's, you can see that the answer is coming from your natural acceptance, and the natural acceptance is a faculty of the self, right? So if all these answers are coming from the self and you want happiness in the self, happiness is also not in the body, right? Happiness is also whatever you're feeling. Your feelings are all in the self. Your program of understanding harmony at all the four levels is in the self. Your potential to whatever we've discussed, right? Our program potential and our purpose is the same. That's what we just saw. And all that is to do with the self. So when all that is to do with the self, then why are we getting into this kind of a state where we are differentiating so much on the basis of the body, just because we may have different opinions, different thoughts, different body structure? On that basis, it doesn't make sense, right, to have all this kind of discrimination. It's just something which is there as differences, which we can just see that that's how the world becomes more beautiful also. So this is also one interesting point that has been mentioned, that theoretically I'm accepting, but practically I'm not able to accept. So this is perfectly fine at this stage, because right now there are so many assumptions. Like one assumption is that I have to fit into the society. And if I don't do these things, then I won't fit in. So this assumption may be very strong with a lot of people, right? That we want to fit into the society, and if we don't do some of these things, then there's something wrong with that. That assumption may be very strong. And we may have some fear also, that if I don't do this, then what will others think about me, right? If I don't do certain things, what will the others think about me, or what will the society think about me? This thing so many people say, right, ki log kya kahenge. So that may be very strong because of that feeling that we want to fit in. Not feeling, sorry, the assumption that if we do these things, then we'll fit in, and if we fit in, then we'll feel happier. So again, it's linked with happiness, but it's an assumption again. So are we able to see that all these assumptions which we have, if we really look at them, then we come to see what is really there inside our imagination. And if we are able to verify some of these assumptions through our natural acceptance and have the courage to do that outside also and inside also, first inside and then outside, then it will lead to a lot of happiness. And it may not be easy to implement outside initially, because first of all, inside, if there is that doubt or confusion about such things, then implementing outside will only be in terms of words. It won't be anything major. It'll just be in terms of some theory or some logically, like how you're saying, theoretically you're accepting. In the same way, um, the teaching also, which happens outside, may be that we're teaching this for the sake of, you know, uh, trying to put the point forward, but then we ourselves are a little confused about it, or we're not very clear about our own assumptions, or else we haven't taken those assumptions into the place of knowing. We are still at the assumption stage where this is also an assumption. So this information which we are getting from here also is another assumption right now. And until we verify it through our natural acceptance, it won't be permanent for us. And not just verify it, we start seeing this more and more, go deeper and deeper, and then when we are really getting it into our understanding, not into our memory. Memory is different. Memory is just a collection of some ideas, collection of assumptions, and collection of all these things. But when we take it further than that, when we take it into our understanding, then it becomes a part of our knowing. And then we can start implementing it outside also, because then at that point, we are totally sure of it. It's not an assumption anymore. So that's where we want to reach. We're not saying that we are there already. We're just saying that that's where we want to reach. So again, this we saw. This is coming again, I think. And so with respect, the minimum content of respect is to start seeing that the other is similar to me. And once you start seeing that, then you also are able to look at the other person's competence, look at your competence, rightly evaluate both of them, and then see that we are complementary to each other. Complementary in the sense that we can see that our purpose is the same, we can see our program is the same, our potential is the same, all that we can see. So we can see that the other is similar to me. And what happens when you see that the other is similar to me? You start trying to help the other with what he's not as good as you as, right? Like if you are better at something, then you try to help the other to reach your level at that. And if the other is better, then you try to learn from the other. So in terms of our understanding, what we're calling right understanding and the completeness of right understanding, in that, when we see, our potential is the same. The potential is the completeness of right understanding, where we're able to understand harmony at all the 4 levels, live in harmony at all the 4 levels, and that leads to happiness, right? That is our potential. So we can also see that our competence may vary from person to person, and different people may be on different points in that journey. So somebody may have reached a higher point in their understanding, somebody may be at a lower point in that understanding. And therefore, the person who has more understanding can help the other who has less understanding without a feeling of domination or anything like that, with the feeling of trying to help the other. And the other also can learn from this person about um, whatever can be learned from that person, and vice versa. So you can start seeing the complementarity, that we are complementary to each other and we can work together to develop our understanding. Like in the family also, we may see that different people in the family may have different understanding about different things, different levels of understanding about different things. Like, for example, it could be that the um, mother has a feeling of relationship towards everyone, more like, um, which is more visible or something, which other people can learn from in the family. Or it may be that the father has that feeling of trying to help everyone to do what they want to do and have that feeling of relationship. Or it could be that the child is able to see something which the parents are not able to see, and therefore to try to help to increase the competence of the parents, and so on. So many possibilities are there. But when we bring in the fact that the other is similar to me, then all these interactions like wherever we are trying to help the other or take help from the other, none of them is with the feeling of domination, or none of them is with the feeling of the fact that I am better than you at this, or I am superior at this. In the family, you can see that this doesn't happen much. But the moment you go to the office and all that, many times you may see that this feeling is not there, that I want to help the other, because if I help the other, then the other may earn more, and so on. So these kind of things are there because we're not feeling related to the other. If the other earns more, then we don't feel happy about it. But in the family, it's not like that, right? That's because we have totally accepted that relationship. But in the office, we have not accepted that the other is similar to me. We're not able to see the natural acceptance and look at all these things. So in the exam also, if you want to come first in the exam, then you won't help anybody else because you'll have a fear of coming second or third. But if you're if you don't have that kind of a thing and you help the others, then whether you come first or second, it won't matter to you if you've understood what you wanted to learn, or if you're able to do whatever you wanted to do with that subject or with that information, right? Then you'll see that whether you come first or second is not a big matter for me. You'll start seeing things totally differently. You'll start seeing that the other is similar to me on the level of the self. And in terms of intellectual capability, the other has a little less, so I can help the other. And in some other field, that person may help me, or somebody else may help me in something which um, I can take help from, somebody else in some other field if I need to. So like this, when we look, then we see that there is harmony within. So if I have more understanding than the other, and I'm more responsible than the other, then I'm committed to understand from the other. And if I have more understanding I'm more responsible than the other, and I live with that responsibility with the other unconditionally, unperturbed by the behavior of the other. That means even if the other is not able to see something which you're able to see, you still try to help that person without reacting to whatever behavior the other may have. So even if the other may scold you or something, you're still not reacting to all those things, but you're responding with responsibility and helping the other without any kind of feeling of domination or superiority or anything like that. And regardless of how the other person is treating you, you are treating the other person in the same way. I mean, you are treating the other person in the same way, regardless of whether that person is happy with you or unhappy with you or all that, because you're able to see that that person needs help and you're able to try to give your help in whatever way you can. And if you yourself are fluctuating, then it would be harder to do that, and it would not make that much difference for the other if you yourself are fluctuating too much, because then the other person will not be able to benefit from that, right? So then you go to somebody else who can help. But in an interaction between two people, you can see that, right? That either I have more understanding than the other, or the other has more understanding than me. So in two people's interaction, you can see this very clearly, that you could either be in this A or B. I mean, not A or B, the first or the second, that either I have more understanding and I can help the other, or the other has more understanding and he can help me. So this is the complete content of respect. So the first thing is that the other is similar to me, and second is that we are complementary to each other. So if we are able to see this much, then we feel that the other is like me and we are complementary to each other, and I can respect the other, and I genuinely have that feeling from within. It's not a show kind of a thing. We may show it with different hand gestures or whatever, but inside we have that feeling because we are able to see that the other is similar to me and we are complementary to each other. So whenever we see somebody else, then if we are able to look at them in this way, then we always go with that perspective where we are similar to each other and we are complementary to each other. We can help each other, that kind of a perspective. But if you go with opposition, then you may have lots of things where the other is different, or I have to show that I'm superior so that I can be in a better um, better position in the job, or I can be in a better something, whatever. So there's a big difference between looking at things this way versus that way. And if you're able to look at things this way, then it becomes very comfortable, because then you feel related to other people, regardless of whether you call them stranger or whether you already interacted with them before. So imagine how it would be if you're able to do this for everyone. Suppose you feel this for everyone. Will it lead to some kind of good feeling within you? And what happens if you feel the opposite? What happens if you go into this thing of discrimination? Then you start feeling that there's hardly anyone you can relate to. If you go in this, if you look at things this way, on the basis of the body, and on that basis, if you're trying to respect or disrespect, then it becomes very limited. Then you respect people only who have the same opinion, or the people who are of the same income level. You don't respect people who are lower or higher. And beliefs also, you may respect only people of certain religion who are of the same religion as you, right? So all these differences come up. But if you if you look at things this way and see that on the level of the self, I am similar to the other, and we both are complementary to each other, and we can help each other in reaching our potential of the completeness of right understanding. That would give you a totally different feeling inside. You would feel totally different if you start looking at the world this way versus if you look at it that way. Because that way, you feel that you're alone. And this way, you feel that everybody is there with you. And of course, there are going to be all kinds of people. When we are saying that we can have this feeling for all, at least from our side, we can have the feeling. The other person may not respond in the way that we may expect. But can we have this feeling for everyone? Are we able to look at it in that way? It may be difficult because at this point, we are in a state where we respect very few people, genuinely respect, not like the show respect. But you can just explore this and see, just you can explore this proposal about respect and try to refer to your natural acceptance and see what comes. And it may be difficult to implement this, even to accept it completely and to reach the point where it's in your knowing, but it is something which you can explore, and over time you'll see that some things from your natural acceptance, the more and more you refer your natural acceptance, the more and more you'll see that you can be in harmony. So with this we'll close. I think this time we won't have time for questions because it got a little bit late, but if there's one question or comment we could do. Otherwise, I think we'll close.
Bhaiya, can I ask?
Sure.
Yes, this is the most important point of the natural acceptance. With my experience, I just wanted to, I do not know if I can raise here. And let me not put it as a discussion. Suppose I put myself in that situation where as a teacher, I discriminate. For example, I discriminate between two students. A student whom on basis of some external that he's of my caste or he's of my place or he's of my, I am trying to support that particular student knowingly, and I am trying to humiliate another student, okay, who in these cases the former is really efficient, not efficient, okay, he is trying to, but then I am trying to discriminate between these two students, okay, because of certain factors, as I told, and that is what is happening. And this is a major question that and question that keeps coming to my mind with the circumstances that I am facing. Okay, and when me as a teacher, that I am not able to bring harmony, and I am trying to discriminate between two students, okay, based upon certain factors. In what way will I be able to explain the concept of natural acceptance and harmony, okay, when I will have to teach, when I will have to discuss this particular concept with my fellow students?
Okay, so you're saying that you want to discriminate for some particular
I
reason.
am
But before
doing
that,
that.
yeah,
Yes, sir.
before that, we'll just ask this question: that is that humiliating the other, or is the feeling of that discrimination how it feels when I'm
It will be humiliating because definitely the former when I am trying to support without the proper talent, but I am trying to a situation that I'm facing which I'm not able to give the real time, but I'm trying to put it that I am doing it. I'm not doing it, but I am putting it as if I am doing. So this is a situation that and I have been facing in
okay, I
throughout
got it.
my
Yeah,
30
yeah,
years
yeah.
in the
I'll,
same place where I am staying, and but I'm not able to. So how do I get harmony within myself, and how do I take it as a natural acceptance? Okay, with the in such a situation where
yeah, so that's
we
what
are
I'm just
people.
trying to answer. If you
Yes,
can mute the
yes,
mic,
yeah.
I'll just continue. Yeah. So what we were saying is that, would you like the feeling of opposition or the feeling of relationship for yourself? Forget about, for now, just think about yourself, because for yourself it's easy to answer, right? For the other person, it's um, you may not be able to, but for yourself you can answer, right? So for yourself, is the feeling of relationship naturally acceptable or opposition?
Naturally, it goes in for opposition because I when I'm not able to convey the other person that
No,
it
no,
is not
what I'm asking is, how would you like to be treated? With respect or disrespect? Would you like the other
definitely with
person,
respect. Definitely
would you
with
like the
respect.
other person to oppose you, or to, I mean, would you prefer that opposition coming from the other, or would you prefer the feeling of relationship coming from the other? Even if the person opposes your idea, if the person has a feeling of relationship and you're able to see that, then you will still be comfortable with that, right?
Um, yeah, but then it goes with the acceptance and the feeling of respect from one side, where and, for years together I have not been able to. So it happens that when for example I put it in myself in that shoe. Okay, they are with this concept of feeling respectable and at the same time feeling of relationship and the harmony that I have to maintain. I am losing a lot. I am losing promotions. I am losing everything. I am losing, you know. So I come to a stage where, yes, I am at 50s. So, okay, let me put aside, okay, am I able to convey my students who are assigned to me? Uh, uh, am I able to uh, uh, convey in the right way? To my set of students is something that I'm trying to look in. But okay, hearts of hearts, I am when such a situation comes, I am really not happy from within.
Yeah, that's because you're going against your natural acceptance, because you're uh, like you're taking a decision to humiliate the other person for getting the promotion or whatever. That's something which is happening, right? Because you're feeling that the physical facility is more important than the person's respect or disrespect, and therefore you're having that feeling that even though I might have a feeling of respect towards the person, I'm okay with giving a like a expression of disrespect or humiliation just to get the promotion. So when you do these kind of things, it doesn't help in any way, right? Actually, it may look like it helps in the short run for uh, some time. It may help in the short run for getting that promotion, but inside, do you feel comfortable about making such a thing, of doing such a thing? Inside, if you're not feeling comfortable, then no matter how much promotion you get, it won't really help you, because in your mind all these things will keep going on, and therefore you will be uncomfortable within.
Correct.
And even
Correct.
if you have that extra money which has come, then you won't be able to enjoy your life, right? Because you'll have this at always coming again and again, that you did the wrong thing or you didn't follow your natural acceptance. So this generally happens. It turns into that guilt kind of a thing, where you've done something out of some kind of greed, and then later on you keep feeling that you shouldn't have done it. You keep feeling that you didn't do the right thing. But on the other hand, if you are able to help both the students, or whatever the case was, not have a feeling of opposition, help both the students have a feeling of relationship,
Yes, if
regardless
I'm
of
the right.
regardless of how the other is reacting. The other person may, sometimes the student throws chalk at the teacher or something like that. Regardless of all that, if you're able to have the same feeling for all the students, then our harmony inside will be there. And whatever the person is doing, it may not be right also. Like the student may do something right, something wrong. But then, as a teacher, you could either humiliate the person who has done the wrong thing, or you can help that person to understand. You have the choice. So when you have the choice, and
Bhaiya,
when you
a
do the right
situation
thing,
where I am not able to, I cannot correct the because I am doing wrong, and I am the owner of the college. So when I in such a situation, I know, okay, that I am doing wrong, but in I am not correcting myself, and I am not allowing others to correct me, and I am not fine. I am always in the zone that I am the owner. I can do whatever I want.
but if you can do whatever you want, then you can also uh, decide how to deal with the issues of the students, right? Like, instead of punishment, you could take them into some other class where you could help them to understand things, and therefore improve their understanding about the subject also, and about these things also. And that would help them also, and that would not lead to that opposition, and you'll also be comfortable that you are helping those people who are creating some issues in the class, or people who are not able to do things properly, or people who are disturbing the others. So all those kind of people, instead
Yeah.
of punishment, we can try to help them, so that
Bhaiya, if I can interrupt,
yeah,
it is
yeah,
not the student. I am wrong. Okay, the teacher is wrong. So in that way, I am taking the student in the wrong direction, and I am making taking the student in the line uh, uh, of not natural acceptance, but with power.
okay. So that is, at this level, you're able to see that what you're doing is not naturally acceptable, right? In your case, you're able to see that what you're doing is not naturally acceptable. So that is the starting point for making changes. So once you're able to see that, then when you have your next interaction with the student, then again you'll think about this, whether it is naturally acceptable or not, and whether this discrimination on the basis of power is naturally acceptable or not. And then when you see that it is not, then you won't promote that, right? You will start looking at things differently. So the starting point is to identify and to see what is happening in your natural acceptance, and to see what you're actually doing outside and in the world and in your thoughts also. So when we're able to compare what is happening in our thoughts with what is our naturally what is what is in our natural acceptance, then we're able to compare the two, and then see whether our assumptions are right or not. We start verifying our assumptions, and we start looking at our natural acceptance, looking at our assumption, see if they're in line or not. If they're not in line, then we have the choice. So you're at a place where you have the choice about what to do. You're able to identify and see that what you were doing till now may not have been naturally acceptable because you are not referring to your natural acceptance. But now you can see that, okay, there is a place called natural acceptance inside us, and we can refer to that whenever we want. So we can take our decisions on that basis. And if we take our decisions on the basis of natural acceptance, that leads to a state of harmony within. And if we take our decisions not on the basis of natural acceptance, then it leads to a feeling of conflict within. So we always have that choice whether to take our decisions on this basis or some other basis. And many times, just because of what is happening outside, we tend to want to fit in, like how I was mentioning, right? We want to fit in, and therefore we take decisions which are not naturally acceptable, and then we suffer inside also. So we have the choice always whether we want to do it this way or that way. And now, since you've identified, you've been able to see that what you were doing earlier was not naturally acceptable. If you're able to see that much itself, that's a good starting point, because after that only you start having potential to refer to your natural acceptance and to make the right decisions.
Thank you, Bhaiya.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
जी, nice interaction. And Arjun bhai, I think it's we see very
Yeah,
mature,
today
so
it
we
got
have
very late, so I think we'll
The discussion was going on and it was good enough. So I mean, it was an interesting discussion, Parikshit Bhaiya.
right.
So it's good that a lot of discussion is taking place, and interactive sessions are always
certainly.
more fulfilling. So let's continue the topic next week. Will that be fine?
It's time to say namaste to
Yes.
everybody. Yes.
So thank you, everyone.
Namaste.
Thank you, Arjun.
Namaste. Yeah, thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste.